Fucking finally. Well, well, well. Well, well, well. Well, I hate to say it, but yeah, anybody who's ever watched me before, seen me stream before, me being late is not an uncommon appearance. It's not like an uncommon occurrence. Although I wish it was a little bit better. But what? Oh my God, Anto, dog. I am so sorry. I thought that viewer was me, bro, because I was monitoring my audio in the stream. I apologize for that. I did not mean to make you feel bad, man. And I appreciate you for showing up. Man. Hey, what's up? What up? What up? Appreciate y'all coming through. So, no preamble today. We're going to get straight into it. Basically, let me get rid of this. What we want to do today is kind of theorize and figure out what is a PS Vita sequel going to look like. So let me pull up my handy dandy tool because we're going to go through a few different phases. We're going to go through design as well as ergonomics. We're going to go through hardware as far as the screen goes, as far as graphics processing. We're going to figure out whether we need to do an SoC from a mobile device or anything like that. So any input that y'all can put in, anything that you have as an idea, I would very much appreciate. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is open up a new file and we're going to try and figure out what do we want this thing to even look like for real. I think the looks, the aesthetics are some of the most important, is one of the most important aspects of having I'm still laughing about that nobody's here thing, man. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. I apologize. All right. When somebody looks at a device, when somebody looks at a mobile device specifically, the aesthetic factors in a hell of a lot when trying to decide what you want it to look like or whether you want to buy it or not. So I believe it's very, very important for us to try and figure out what does a PS Vita sequel look like? Do we need it to be a form factor more similar to the Switch, or do we want it to be a form factor that is more similar to the actual PlayStation Vita that is out right now? And I've been weighing, I mean, this is one that I really think I would like some input on because I've been going back and forth in my head about how do you even make it look? Where do you even start with trying to make it look appealing? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that we're going to have to come back to it, but if there are any ideas as to how it could look, I'm very much open to feedback. Let's go. But I'm going to pull up a couple of tools really quickly, so don't mind me. Okay. All right. Okay. And let me actually grab mine real quick. I think it should be around here somewhere. Oh no. Oh no. Oh God. I lost track of where my Vita is. Holy shit. We're gonna move this over here so I can monitor everything. Make sure everything is looking crispy, looking good. All right. So, first aspect that we definitely need to track down is design. Because without a good design, people aren't even going to find it appealing. It doesn't matter the function. If it's not well produced or if it's not good looking, a lot of people aren't going to buy into it. And the goal is to get a lot of people to buy into it. So with no entries in the chat of what it can look like, let's start with the design of the PlayStation Vita right now, which is kind of damn. I promise I'm a better artist than this, but it's kind of like an ellipse. Wow. Jesus fucking Christ. All right. It's an ellipse. You got your D-pad right here. You got your buttons right here. Your two thumbsticks and your big honking screen in the middle. Functionally, there's nothing wrong with this design, but I believe the ergonomics of this kind of design can be improved quite a bit. So let's let's kind of let's kind of work with this right now. We're gonna reduce the transparency so that we always have this one in the background, right? I believe the first thing that you have to really figure out is how is a player gonna hold this thing, right? And for that, I believe the most logical thing would be to add grips. Now, there are a ton of different ways that you could add grips to a design. You could do something like this, or you could do kind of take the base design that's going on and make it more like this. Or you could take the back, and if you're looking at it in profile, if this is the PlayStation Vita, you would make this the sequel, right? It's all about ergonomics. Are people gonna play this? Are people gonna play with this thing for an extended amount of time? And if they do play for an extended amount of time, how comfortable will they be after an hour, 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours of playing the PS Vita version of God of War or something like that? Are they gonna get hand fatigue? Because the longer we can keep them playing, the better, you know? We want people to enjoy this hardware experience so that they can exalt it. Tell their friends to get it, and then sell more units, right? So, in my mind, a design similar to this, I think, would be ideal. I'm gonna try and get it in one go, right? Actually, we're not gonna make it that chunky. Man, I'm really struggling to draw this thing. Whatever. Yeah. No, we're not gonna go with that one. We're gonna go with this. We're gonna go with the square, or we're gonna go with a rectangular shape. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna round the corners. And then we are going to put a big fucking screen right here with Sony underneath it. We're gonna get dual thumbsticks, and we're gonna make this thing look like a DualShock 4 as much as we possibly can. The thing about these rounded corners is it'll be comfortable in the hands, right? For extended play sessions. And then, I don't know, the big screen allows people to enjoy their games. And this, by the way, the idea for this screen is that it is a true HD screen, but we're gonna get more into that later on. Let me switch over here. All right. So we got the basic layout of it. At least this is the way I was thinking about it. But what's powering this thing, right? Well, I've been doing a little bit of research into different types of processors and different types of GPUs, and I feel like I've come up with a solution. Something that can run high quality, AAA quality games on this portable system. And it's not, and unlike the Switch, it's not an NVIDIA Tegra chip. I'm thinking if you use a mobile phone SoC, that will do the job, because mobile phones are getting crazy right now. Samsung, the Galaxy S22 Ultra has a ridiculous chipset in it. It can run AAA quality games at a stable frame rate, at least 30 frames per second. And there's potential for it to even go further. It's a small form factor. It's pretty power efficient. So I'm thinking we get a Snapdragon 8 Gen Plus, right? The good thing about using a Snapdragon system on a chip inside a device like this is the fact that it can eventually, if we need more power, if games are becoming more body build similar to how an OG design connected to one of those controller attachments would look. Yeah, because I don't know. I kind of let's see. I kind of had an idea of making it more kind of similar to the Yeah, I agree. Look, the one thing on the Vita, look, the Vita joysticks are a significant upgrade from the little nub on the PSP, but they can be better. You know what I mean? I think the Switch has proven that a portable gaming device can have decent joysticks. Outside of the fact that Switch joysticks, Joy-Con joysticks tend to drift, but I believe Sony, with enough R&D, could resolve that issue. So I'm not too worried about it. Um, Joystick drift is kind of an issue, but as long as they can avoid that while keeping the same profile of those kind of joysticks, it'll be a massive upgrade, right? All right. So what was I talking about? Back to the processor. All right. So the thing about using a mobile phone SoC is that, say, 2 years down the line, you know, games are getting crazier and Sony wants to keep up. Well, all they would really have to do, since they're not building their own chip, all they would really have to do is get the next generation version of the Snapdragon SoC into their newer models of Vitas in order to make sure that the reliability of the Vita scales with the power or with the demands of certain video games. This, in theory, should allow the Snapdragon, or not the Snapdragon, this should, in theory, allow the PS Vita 2 in or let me calm myself. In theory, this should allow the PS Vita 2 to keep on running AAA quality games, or at least AA quality games, even if it has a lifespan exceeding 5 or 6 years. And that's usually in a console's lifespan when the graphics on a game start getting really, really crazy and like really starts pushing the limits of what a certain hardware can do. Just an idea. It's not necessarily set in stone, but I believe that going with a mobile chip like the Snapdragon could definitely be a big benefit to the PlayStation Vita. And, you know, I don't see this happening personally because I believe Sony wants to keep everything in-house and proprietary. Often to the detriment of the consumer, but hey, we're not here to judge. We're here to theorize. All right. So, next part we're looking at is this screen here. I'm gonna select a different color. The screen here. Oops. Need the, yeah. Let's take this down. For this screen, we are trying to get true HD. I'm thinking, yet again, we're looking toward mobile. You know, Sony, they released a cell phone that was able to run PSP games. It's not impossible. We got to look toward mobile products that are being sold, that are selling well today, in order to understand what people may appreciate in a portable console, a dedicated gaming machine, you know? Because this phone, it's meant for multitasking. It's meant to go on the internet. It's meant to make calls. It's meant to receive text messages, and that's all well and good. But if you were to take all the processing power in a phone like the Pixel or something like that and put all of that into gaming and dedicate all of that those development resources into a gaming product, I feel like you would be able to get away with having some significant upgrades, such as a 1080p. That's weird. A 1080p display. That's right. It is perfectly possible to put a 1080 screen onto a portable device. It doesn't even have to be that huge. 6 or 7 inches at 1080p, I think will be a lot, will be very much appreciated by a lot of people. You know, we're not trying to, you don't have to go for crazy 2K, 4K displays with HDR included. That's not necessary. We're talking about a portable system, but I believe that we have the resources, we have the technology, and Sony has the money, especially nowadays, to put a 1080 display onto the PlayStation Vita 2. Ideally, a 6-inch OLED display. A 6-inch OLED, I believe, would be very beneficial. It's not too big. You can still pocket the thing. It's super crispy. Since it is 6 inches, it's going to have a high pencil density. Pixel density. Forget I said what I said. It's going to have a high pixel density. It's going to look super sharp, super crisp. You might not even need any type of anti-aliasing on the device itself. Everything's gonna look great. Everything's gonna be smooth, and since it's a 1080, since it's a 1080p display, it doesn't need an incredible, like super powerful graphics chip in order to drive most games, in order to render those games out on the screen. A byproduct of that is that it's gonna consume a lot less battery, which brings me to my next point, and the next thing we need to consider, which is I'm actually gonna take all these off. We need to consider battery life. Battery life can make or break some devices. Super crispy. Look, 1080p. If a person tells you they can tell the difference between 1080p and 4K on a 6-inch display, they're lying to you, or they're delusional, whichever one. So, battery life, right? Yet again, you got to see there's a theme here. We're looking at mobile devices that are being sold today in 2022 in order to inform the design and the features of a dedicated gaming platform. We need a lithium-ion battery, clearly, and we want our console to support USB-C because that is the universal adapter that goes into electronics. And we want our battery size to be, this is important, I'm thinking 5,000 milliamp hours, which may be wishful thinking. It may drive the cost of the whole thing up, but I believe that we can't get away with anything less than 4,000. No less than 4,000. Now, take all these factors, right? Consider the fact that we have, I don't know, wishful thinking, 5,000 milliamp hour battery. We got a 1080 display and it's an OLED, right? And we're using a Snapdragon chipset in the Vita. In theory, we should be able to run our games for hours upon hours upon hours before we actually have to recharge our Vita. This is the goal. We're trying to get gamers to stay on this platform for even longer than they would prior, right? If I was the one designing the PlayStation Vita for Sony, right? And I knew we were going to put this thing in production and we were going to bring this thing into the mainstream consciousness, I would want people to play the game. I would want people to play the system for at least 2 hours per session. You know what I mean? I want them to be able to go on a road trip that takes 8 hours, drive from, I don't know, Florida to New York City, have the Vita on when they get into the car, and the Vita does not die until they get into New York State. That is the idea, right? And it may be wishful thinking, but if we get the right components together, we can introduce a lot of power into the system whilst we can introduce a lot of power into the system whilst conserving a considerable amount of energy. And this is the goal, right? So in order to highlight this fact, I think I want to pull up, hold on. Yeah. We're going to pull up the specs of the Steam Deck, right? And we're going to see how what we've made compares to this, right?